Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping the week's nerdy news from Gotham City to Westeros and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson, and with me, as always, is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
A whole lot of news and not a whole lot of time to talk about it.
Yeah.
As long as we don't want to hit our threshold for last week.
Yeah, we're going to try to keep it under 2 hours from last week. Last week, we went to bed after midnight because we talked about Star Wars for 2 hours. If you haven't heard that episode, check your feed from last week. You can hear all or most of the news from Star Wars Celebration. Star Wars Celebration went from Friday to Monday, and we talked about it Sunday night. So there's a couple things that came up Monday morning that we're going to mention on this episode, but we're not starting with Star Wars stuff. We are starting with a recurring segment that's getting closer and closer to disappearing. Flash Watch. Flash comes out in June, I believe.
Yep.
So we only have only a few months left of Flash Watch updates. This one is that we are getting a new trailer on April 25th, just around the corner. New trailer for The Flash. There's been a couple of TV spots popping up recently. I haven't really been checking them out too much, and I probably will watch this new trailer, but I like what I've seen so far, and the more I can go in not knowing anything, the better I'll feel about it. So, but
yeah, that sounds about right.
Sounds about right. I like the amount of Keaton I've seen. I like the amount of Affleck I've seen. I like the amount of Speed Force Flash. If there's other surprises, I don't want them ruined. So I'll probably watch this trailer, but maybe only once. I don't know. Or if it's, I don't know, if it's amazing, then we'll probably have to do a reaction to it. We'll have to see. Yeah.
My brain just is like, I don't want to set any expectations for this film.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's where I officially am right now.
Yeah. But it's hard when all the Hollywood insiders that have seen it say that it's incredible, including Tom Cruise. Don't forget our buddy Tom Cruise, friend of the pod.
Yep.
Ethan, all right, segueing.
Ethan Hunt himself.
Ethan Hunt himself, and my God, that's another movie I cannot wait to go see this summer. I'm gonna be.
I almost said Ethan Hawke, and then I realized that was very different.
Very different. I'm gonna be spending a lot of time in movie theaters this summer. A lot of good stuff coming out that I don't want to miss.
I unfortunately missed. My son went to see a Super Mario movie, and I've heard that actually currently that is setting things ablaze in the box office.
It's crushing it at the box office because it's a PG, family-friendly movie you can take our kids to, and it came out during a week where a lot of kids had no school, had off from school. I took my son to see it. He loved it. I thought it was
a nostalgia trip.
It was like, it looked pretty. It was pretty hollow of a movie. Like it was very.
I mean, you're talking about a game series that's been going on for 30 years with no actual storyline. So
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. There was no it wasn't trying to do any cool subversive stuff like Lego Movie or any other more top tier animated stuff. It was just here's Mario. It felt like there was a Nintendo executive that was like, here's 8 things that you have to put in the movie. Write a story around it.
It's a me.
That's kind of what it felt like. Yeah. He's gonna have to meet Donkey Kong, and Donkey Kong's got to throw barrels, and then they got to get in carts and drive around on Rainbow Road and all this. They got to do all. Got to play the hits here, people. Figure it out. Make a story.
Yeah, and but that was the thing, is the drop on that was they retained 54% or something stupid.
Yeah, I read it's the highest grossing animated film debut of all time or something.
They're 347 domestically right now, and 330 overseas. If Super Mario, the biggest problem I'm gonna have as a diehard video game fan for the last 30 years is if The Last of Us and this both become hits, we're going to get that stupid influx of every god dang video game movie we could possibly imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we already got 2 Sonic movies that are both great.
I haven't seen either of them. Pretty good.
Dude, we watched them within the last few months, my son and I and my wife, we watched both of them. They were great.
Nice.
He loved them. I thought they were like, they have no business being as good as they are.
Nice.
Zero business having two Sonic the Hedgehog movies be watchable, entertaining, funny, like really smart, like just really like in the hands of a different writer or filmmaker, these would have been just like cash grab, just, you know, dumb hollow movies, kind of like Super Mario Brothers, but they're both very good. I highly recommend the Sonic movies, but like,
nice.
Yeah, like, you know, I'm sure someone in Nintendo is, you know, Grant has been drastically hired to write a draft of like a Zelda script at this, you know.
And those are the ones that I always worry about, because like
Yeah,
Legend
the
of
follow-up.
Zelda over the years, unless you pull off a Last of Us, what are you doing?
Right. I don't know.
You're gonna leave it short.
Mhm.
And not everything is gonna be The Last of Us.
It's kind of wild that they haven't tried to make a Legend of Zelda
Yeah.
movie.
I was kind of thinking about that when
Have
I was
they?
thinking about Mario.
not-
I was like, I don't ever remember it. I don't, and it might
seems-
just be or like Nintendo didn't ever license it out.
Guess it just seems wild that they wouldn't have tried it.
Well,
in
you know
any
what? I
format.
think everyone got scared off after the '93 Mario movie,
Well, that's true,
and
That's
with
true.
good reason.
but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like you'd think they'd take a swing or like pitch it as a series or something. I don't know. Anyway, it was our first, not even a story. Flash Watch, that was nothing. And we already tangented for 5 minutes talking
Right.
about this video game movies, which is not Flash Watch at all. Trying to segue back into some other DC news. This week, the voice cast was announced for Creature Commandos. Now, to refresh your memory, when James Gunn announced his less than half of his DC slate, the first announcement was an animated series called Creature Commandos, featuring a bunch of like monsters and stuff from the DC universe teaming up. It's based on a comic book series, on and off again comic book series, rotating cast of monsters. And we got a ensemble photo, I guess, or like drawing, I should say, of the animated crew. And I'm going to read the names of the actors and actresses who will be performing these characters. Keep in mind that James Gunn also said that the idea is to cast people to do the voices that could also portray the characters in live action. So if these characters move from, and I feel like he would not have said that if that was not part of the plan. So I think you can more or less expect to see some of these characters move from this Creature Commandos cartoon into a live action movie down the road. Let's go down the list. Maria Baklova from the Borat sequel, and she's also in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, as be voicing Princess Ilana Rostovich, character I'm not familiar with. Indira Varma from Obi-Wan Kenobi, who was very good in that show.
And Game of Thrones.
And that's right, and she's on Game of Thrones. Will be voicing the Bride, meaning the Bride of Frankenstein. Zoe Chow from The After Party will be voicing Nina Mazursky. Not sure who that character is. The great Alan Tudyk from Firefly, from Rogue One, K2SO himself, and from Joker and Clayface in the Harley Quinn show, will be playing. I didn't write down. Dr. Phosphorus.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Phosphorus was a character that I know is like a monstrous villain. Sean Gunn, brother of James Gunn, will be playing G.I. Robot, and also earlier was confirmed that he will be reprising his role as Weasel from the Suicide Squad. And David Hopper from Stranger Things.
As Hellboy. Wait, no.
Not as Hellboy, as Frankenstein. He'll be playing Frankenstein monster. And I think that's a great choice.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to see David Harbour in live action as Frankenstein. That would be amazing.
I mean,
Especially-
it wouldn't be too far off from his Hellboy. Yeah.
I know. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that voice cast. I think James Gunn said that this show's still not coming out to 2024. Like they're still waiting for Blue Beetle and Flash and Aquaman 2 to drop before they start anything that is like full on James Gunn, Peter Safran universe. But this will be the first thing that we see from that. Probably, my guess, they're already in production on it. My guess we'll see it in early 2024. And that voice cast is cool. Real quick, one rumor that our favorite scooper Jeff Snieder dropped in his podcast this week. He says he keeps hearing that a Mr. Terrific project is in development at DC and Warner Brothers under James Gunn's watchful eye, I guess you could say. Months ago, after James Gunn took the job at DC, he did tweet a picture of Mr. Terrific with no explanation. And he also has talked about how he loves the story Strange Adventures by Tom King that came out last year, 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Which features Mr. Terrific. Yeah, features Mr. Terrific heavily. And that would be cool. He's an underutilized character. He's like a super genius that has these little like T-spheres, he calls them. They're like just like things that hover around his head, and they can do everything from hack into computers to shoot lasers at people. And it's really cool. He's a cool guy. So that would be cool if that's true.
Are we just we going to go with all things John Ostrander at this point?
Yeah.
Everybody's just adapting everything Ostrander ever did.
Oh, James Gunn is a big John Ostrander fan. He showed us with the Suicide Squad film. And I know we talked about the Star Wars adaptations that I did not even realize that he was a writer on some of those.
Oh, yeah.
It was super cool. We also got, last bit of DC news, we got a teaser, but like they call it like an in-production teaser for the Penguin, the series that was going to be airing on HBO Max. Sorry, on Max, not HBO Max anymore, just Max.
We're not hitting that tangent because that's dumb and it'll take us too long.
It's dumb. Yeah. Not going to get sucked in, but it's dumb. So the Penguin, Colin Farrell reprising his role from the Batman. And Steve, what'd you think about this teaser?
I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I also, you didn't need this to be the Penguin. It could have just been any generic anything, sort of like crime drama. So I can't tell if that helps or hurts me.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, if it's well done, it's well done, and it's going to be good. And it's Colin Farrell, who we've seen recently even can do amazing things acting.
Yeah, great actor.
But like, is it one of those where they're just slapping the Gotham badge on it, or is it something that is actually going to be tied into DC continuity?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's certainly tied into the continuity left over by the Batman, because there's at least one shot in the beginning where part of the city is still flooded heavily, which I think is cool that they're like dealing with the outcome some way.
Yeah, because this is supposed to be like 2 weeks after or something, right?
Yeah, not long after. So who knows if it's going to be cleaned up by the time like the Batman Part 2 comes out or whatever. But I like that at least in some storytelling aspect, they're like, oh no, this city's full of water. We got to deal with it. It's a problem. Because like in others would be like, oh yeah, 6 months later they'll reference it in dialogue, but it won't actually be there. I think he still looks incredible. The makeup is still crazy. But you're right there, and this is just a teaser, which I've never seen an in-production teaser like this before. Like they're showing shots of crew making it. Like you see cameras, you see people holding boom mics and stuff in the teaser. But you see a lot of like footage and stuff like that too. And you're right. It doesn't. Besides we know that he is Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, and he's like limping around.
But if it wasn't for us knowing that and seeing, like you said, the city flooded, where's the tie?
Yeah, well, we know that there are other, like we know like Salvatore Maroni is going to be in this show. I wouldn't be surprised to see other like known Gotham characters, but it's probably going to feel more like a crime drama than a superhero show, because I mean, like you don't have to have powers, and like this version of the Penguin doesn't necessarily wear a top hat and use funny umbrellas, and I feel like as long as they keep referencing the Batman or Gordon or Gotham City, like they can still make it feel like a a Gotham show or
Right.
that it's in that universe. But we just got to remember that that universe is very different than, you know, the Zack Snider version of Batman, or the version that we're going to see in The Flash, or the
Yeah.
version that we saw in Tim Burton's Batman. You know, like, this is a more realistic, gritty thing, and it feels more realistic when you're not watching a guy dressed like a bat, you know, drive around the city or fly around the city or whatever. When you're just watching it literally from ground level. And yeah, it still could be a great show. Like, yeah, maybe at the end of the day, you swap out these 2 or 3 characters. Could it be any other show?
Right.
Yeah, maybe. But who
Could
cares?
could
It's
it be
great.
The
If it's
Wire
great,
Gotham?
yeah. But I
Actually,
don't
no,
know.
nothing could be The Wire Gotham.
Nothing can be The Wire in Gotham. But if it's just a great show and it happens to tie into Batman, great. I don't know, great.
Yeah. Either way, it does look good. That was my
Yes.
only qualm, was like it seemed relatively generic, even though it did look good. So
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon at least.
yeah, I can
show
see
up.
that.
I don't know. It'd be cool if we got at least a cameo from Pattinson, but who knows?
I mean, with that max budget, you never know.
You never know. You never, and they are trying to make this thing tie, like they've said a number of times, it's tying directly into part 2. It's like gonna be a whole Batverse. So
Right.
who knows? Like, especially if they end up filming. Well, I guess I don't know if they're filming. They're not filming Batman yet. I don't think. I think they're still writing it, but who knows? Throw Pattinson a bonus and get him in that suit for like a cameo, in the final episode or some shit. Who knows? But that's not the only teaser we got this week. We're moving into Marvel, and we got a teaser for The Marvels. This is the sequel to Captain Marvel, also the sequel to Ms. Marvel, the TV show, and also the sequel to WandaVision, where we met Monica Rambeau. But this is the team up movie from all those Marvel Captain Marvel based characters. I gotta specify Captain versus just regular Marvel.
The Marvel adjacent characters.
Yeah, exactly. Captain Marvel adjacent characters. Steve, what'd you think? Throwing it to you.
I don't know. I liked it, but also I'm worried that they're leaning into the kitsch a little too much.
Oh,
like the jumpiness, and I would assume that they're gonna. Well, I guess no, because maybe it has something to do with the negabands and all that, but it's because they were. I think that was inferred that that's what they found at the end of Ms. Marvel.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which is an old Kree artifact, but the fact that every time one of them uses their power, it jumps with another one of the triad of Marvels. Because at one point Monica Rambeau was a Captain Marvel. It's I don't know. The trailer felt fun. It just, I don't know. Maybe I'm cynical, or maybe I'm just trying to keep my expectations down. Of like, you talked about no meat on the Mario movie, and I'm just sitting there like, all right, where's the meat here?
Yeah. Well, we didn't. It is just a teaser. It's not even.
Right.
They're not even calling it the full trailer. So we may get some more meat or story at least when we get a full trailer. I do think this looked fun. I agree with you. And honestly, I liked it. I like the energy of it quite a bit. The jumping back and forth to me seemed like an Act 1 problem that would probably get fixed for them to progress.
Yep.
In the story. I could be wrong about that. But I thought it looked great, and I love seeing Iman. What's her name?
Iman Vellani.
Vellani, yeah. Back as Ms. Marvel, like, she was great. The second one, she turned into that Monica Rambeau's suit, just like, oh my god, like flying back. I thought that was really funny.
And when she was transported to when she switched spots with
next to the
Marvel, and she's sitting there with Goose.
The
Flerken, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yep.
Hilarious. I just really, this felt fresh to me. And I wasn't sure why it felt fresh. I was like, I've seen these
Yeah.
characters before. I've seen space movies before. I've seen Nick Fury before. Why does this feel fresh? And honestly, when I was watching it right before we started recording, watching it again, I think I realized, I think this feels fresh because this is 3 women interacting with each other, and it's not 3 dudes and 1 woman that's like a sidekick character, or just like, like
Right.
there's so much. Like, Marvel does have a good amount of female heroes. They don't really interact that much. There's been, besides, even Captain Marvel, like, she's with Nick Fury the whole time. She gets a couple scenes with her friend, not Monica Rambeau, because that's the kid, but her mom.
Yeah.
She gets a couple scenes with her friend there, but like, Black Widow does great with having like her and her sister interact there. But like, most Marvel movies are dude focused and focused on like dude relationships, and that's all fine too, especially if they do it well and not in like a toxic-y way. But like, I think just watching these 3 women either joke or interact or shoot lasers at each other, I was just like, it just feels different. It just feels, there's a different energy to it. And I could be wrong about that being the reason for it, but I don't know. That's the first thing I could think of. I was like, why does this feel more exciting to me than trailers I saw for Ant-Man or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think that's the only thing that's different that I can tell. So maybe that's it.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like I was, berating it off the bat.
No, I don't think
it's more like, it's more cautious optimism.
Yeah,
because it really does seem fun.
Yeah. And, the story trailer could come out and I could be like, oh, this is dumb. Like this.
Right.
Because that's like, speaking of Ant-Man, like, I thought the first trailer for Ant-Man looked great, and then the story trailer came out and I was like, oh, no,
Right.
it doesn't
Less
excite me
great.
as much. Yeah, so who knows?
Yeah.
I still haven't seen that, by the way. And now at this point, I'm going to wait for Disney Plus, but I still haven't seen Ant-Man.
Like I said,
Speaking,
fun.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Like,
That's what I hear.
I believe at this point your expectations are low enough that you'll have a good time watching.
Yeah, they'll be at least met.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Cool.
Like, it was great with a bucket of popcorn and just chilling.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's more or less how I felt about Mario also.
Right.
Like, this is I'm having fun. It's pretty to look at. What else do I need?
Mhm.
For a kid's movie that I know is a kid's movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of women in Marvel movies, oh boy, do we got what news that I am incredibly excited about. And I feel like if any of you listening have seen this actress in anything, you will be equally as excited. Mia Goth has been cast in Marvel's Blade. Blade is a movie we haven't heard about too much lately, except back in the fall when it ceased production completely and went under, and they hired a new writer. And the director left. They got a new director, they got a new writer, and they ceased production on it. So I don't know.
That's like the triple threat of shit for movies.
Of bad signs. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Eesh.
Yeah. And also points back to the reports we've heard about Marvel filming before things are ready to be filmed.
Right.
Before. So,
and knock on wood, this may be one of the last movies we see done like that.
Yeah.
From everything we're hearing from the higher ups there. So
yeah,
that's probably a blessing.
Yeah, hopefully. What else could be a blessing is if in those rewrites a part was written to be cast with actress Mia Goth, then that is also a blessing. Mia Goth is an incredible, incredible actress. If you are a fan of horror movies, she was in 2 last year that were sequels to each other. She was in a movie called X, where she played a young woman making a movie with her friends, staying on a farm. She also played the 80-something co-owner of that farm named Pearl. She played both roles in the same film. And speaking of like Colin Farrell makeup level on the Penguin, makeup effects are incredible in this movie. You cannot tell that it's the same actress until the credits roll, and your mind is blown that it was the same woman. And then that same year, they made a prequel to that film called Pearl. That is about the woman that became the elderly woman, and she is mind-blowing incredible in that. It's a huge snub that she was not nominated for an Academy Award for Best Leading Actress in a Motion Picture. I'm telling you, if you like horror and you haven't seen these two movies, watch these two movies and then be excited as hell that Mia Goth is going to be in Blade. She's incredible. So that's all I have to say about that, I guess. I'm just really excited about it. Steve, can you think of any like prominent? I can't. I'm not familiar enough with the Blade lore. Is there like a prominent female Marvel character that she could be playing, or do we think she's just like a vampire villain?
Off the top, I don't really know. Like I've never been that deep in Blade. But I'm sure there's plenty of options. Like there always seems to be, as far as even if it's like a gender bent like version of one of Blade's sidekicks, or
sure.
Like, did they confirm anything about where she was? Whether it was,
nope.
Maybe
of course not.
She's the big bad.
Yeah. She could be the villain. She could be, I don't know. I like knowing her horror roots. I wouldn't be surprised if she was cast as like a vampire, or the villain's right hand or something.
Yeah.
Because she's good at that kind of stuff. But they could pull a fast one on us, and she's, a hero that's gonna continue on or something. I'll be interested to see, because I love her. If you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Apparently, she's this year she'll be in the final installment of the X series, Maxine.
Maxine, yes,
with a lot of X's.
The movie that she's filming on that farm with her friends is so
is what?
A pornographic film.
Oh,
yes.
That would explain the triple X in Maxine.
That's why Maxine is spelled with 3 X's. Yes.
Gotcha.
I'm telling you guys, great movies. If you like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or like that vibe, X is gonna knock you out. So good.
X gonna give it to you?
Yeah. Oh, great one.
Oh, sorry. Had to.
Yep. X gonna give it to you. This was a story. Steve and I, we should say, we mentioned our 2-hour Star Wars episode last week. Steve and I had been planning on doing a regular non-Star Wars weekly recap after we were done recording the Star Wars one, and because we did not expect the Star Wars one to be 2 hours long.
Right. When we looked at the time, we were like, well, no chance in hell of that. So.
Yep. I think, but when it hit 11 and we weren't halfway through the notes that we had, I was like, we're not doing a second episode tonight.
So this is a vestigial story.
Well, it's not really, because last week they announced, this was going to be what we talked about last week. Last week they announced that, sorry, we're moving into Game of Thrones series now. HBO Max announced that, something's happening. Don't switch. I got a little thing coming up on my screen. I don't know what it was. HBO Max announced that they were in development of an Aegon the Conqueror series. It's another spinoff of Game of Thrones. And one of many that has been announced and is in development. But this week, they officially ordered a new series, Game of Thrones spinoff, called A Knight of the Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight. The Hedge Knight is Sir Duncan the Tall, or Dunk, a knight who has lived 90 years before the events of Game of Thrones. Dunk's squire, by the nickname of Egg, actually Prince Aerion Targaryen, who travels with Sir Duncan under an alias for secrecy and protection. That's the synopsis that I read. So this was fans of Game of Thrones will refer to this as Dunk and Egg, which is a strange title. But I would say possibly a better title than A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight. I feel like that's a bad title for this series. It's like too wordy. Like, what are you going to call that?
Yeah, so the Dunk and Egg stories, like the Hedge Knight was the first one of them. So there were 3 novellas. It was the Hedge Knight, Sworn Sword, and the Mystery Knight.
So there's going to be 3 seasons of this show. And
yeah, possibly more, because I mean, Aegon post being Egg turns into, King Aegon. So
Yeah.
there's always options for more, but yeah, the core is of the 3 novellas that they put out,
Okay.
which they actually
Cool.
have graphic novel adaptations of if you ever want to check those out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'd certainly be more inclined to read those.
I figured,
I
I know my
Steve,
audience on this one.
Yeah. you are more of a Game of Thrones guy than me. What are you excited about this? What do you think about this?
I think this is probably the one they should have highlighted from the beginning as far as spinoffs go.
Over House of the Dragon?
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, House of the Dragon has worked out. But like, if you had told me or said, "Hey, we're doing something," and it's not going to be the original core Game of Thrones, Duncan Egg's the first thing that would have jumped into my brain. Good, solid story, great characterizations, really well developed. Has a hypothetical terminus, unlike the original series.
Yeah.
So it's like it's set up for success, and I think it could be a very good series. We've seen they're more than willing to throw money and resources and quality at spin-off series. So here's hoping that they do the same thing here.
Yeah, and this is this one finally, this has been in development for like a long time. I think for years they've been saying that this was in development.
Yeah.
And it's one of, I think there's like 5 other ones right now that are still in development. The Aegon the Conqueror series I just mentioned. There's one about Corus Valerian called The 9 Voyages. One called 10,000 Ships. Apparently an untitled Flea Bottom series that I just recently read about, and the Jon Snow sequel series that they announced was in development with Kit Harington attached to return as Jon Snow.
I don't know if any of those intrigue me.
Yeah, this has given me we just recently talked about when Universal announced they were going to make a dark universe, and they announced we're going to make a Mummy movie and a Frankenstein and a Bride of Frankenstein and an Invisible Man and all these other Wolfman, and these are all, we cast all these actors, and they made one movie and it sucked, and then they abandoned the whole thing.
Yep.
Or like Avatar, when they announced, oh, we're making 5 sequels, like, oh, are you really? Like now it looks like they are, but
when they first announced it, there's nothing. We were all like, "What? What are you doing?
What do you mean you're making 5 movies and it's going to take 15 years?"
Right.
It just seems, I don't know. Like, do you think all these shows are going to go? Do you think that there is enough of an audience and enough of an interest still? I mean, I don't know. House of Dragon was a hit for sure. But I don't know, like, I didn't love it more than I loved Game of Thrones. Like, I'm not like super addicted to it, and I've heard some other people say the same thing. So like, is this cart before the horse behavior for HBO Max, trying to like just milk this Game of Thrones?
I mean, it sort of is, but at the same time, they have to. Like, when you like, I totally get why they're looking into all of these. If they greenlight more than a couple of them, it's its own animal. Like if it gets past in development and into we're filming this shit, that changes things. Like if all 5 go to greenlit, then we're barking up a tree that I don't know we need to be.
I agree. I think they could be in danger, especially if they get to the point where they're all, like, say they have like even just 3 of these shows, that you can't have them on at the same time. Like you have to stagger their release, like like Disney is doing with Star Wars stuff or Marvel stuff. Yeah, so you're not going to have Andor and Ahsoka on at the same time.
Right. It's okay, well, House of the Dragon's coming back in the fall, then we'll have to do this in the spring and that in the winter.
Yeah.
And,
but then if you have all so it's like the 5 that are still in development plus Hedge Knight plus House of the Dragon, that's 7. Like if you have all 7 of these shows going at the same time, that's too much. That's gonna be too much.
I mean, if you have 7
I think.
shows going at the same time, and even at a
And they're all in the
small
same
side,
universe.
you're like 8 episodes a year, like you're 8 episodes a season, then you're at 56, which is more than a year. I'm not a
Yeah,
mathematician,
You're
but
right.
like that's more than a year of shows.
Yeah, I can't imagine all these series go unless they're like, yeah, House of the Dragon's only going to be like one more season, and then we're going to move into the other things. You know, like they have to
Yeah.
cancel something or end something else before they start another thing.
Well, and of those 5, like none of them are Robert's Rebellion that led into Game
Yeah.
of Thrones and like the stories that are
Yeah,
tied
you'd
into
think-
things we want to see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you'd think that they would want to build off things that we actually liked. I mean, the only one of those would be the Jon Snow sequel series, which like I also don't know how many people want that because yeah, we liked Jon Snow when we liked Game of Thrones, but no one liked that last season of Game of Thrones.
Right.
So
And I'm
now
sure,
you're gonna sequelize something that we like. It was a hard
Right.
sell to get us to watch a prequel to something that we hated, that
Mhm.
left a sour taste in our mouth, I should say.
I was gonna say something that we like love hated because the first
Yeah.
6 seasons were gold, and then whatever happened.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we shall see. We shall see. Obviously, no information on when A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight, will be debuting or cast or anything like that, but it has been officially ordered, so all those wheels are turning currently at Warner Brothers. A couple things that got announced the morning after we did our monumental 2-hour Star Wars show from Star Wars Celebration. We got a trailer. Oh, I knew there was another trailer we were talking about that I wanted to rewatch.
Oh, yeah.
The trailer and release date for Volume 2 of Star Wars Visions was released. Star Wars Visions Season 1 was I want to say 8 to 10 episode series of not quite canon Star Wars stories, no main characters, just stories set within the Star Wars universe, all created by Japanese animation houses or studios. And this upcoming season includes animation studios from a lot of different countries, like international, all over the place. So, and this comes out May the 4th, coming up, a couple weeks, Star Wars Day. You get brand new episodes of Star Wars Vision, and you also get what's that called? Jedi Academy, Young Jedi Adventures.
Young Jedi
right?
Adventures.
A little
Yep,
preschool
the
show.
preschool one.
Yeah.
You were
it's a couple new
spot
things
on,
coming
by
up.
the way, in the 8 to 10, in that it was 9 episodes of the original
I
Visions.
nailed it. I think there's another 9. I think there's another 9 in this series. And Steve, you will be very excited. There was a short called "I Am Your Mother" from the makers of Wallace and Gromit, which will feature Dennis Lawson returning as Wedge Antilles, your favorite Star Wars character.
Yep. So that'll be. I'm very curious how "I Am Your Mother" relates to Wedge Antilles. However,
Same.
so we'll see where that one goes.
Trailer?
No, I didn't get
Did
a
you
chance
watch
to see
this
this
trailer?
one. No.
Oh, bummer. Yeah, I knew there was another one that I watched it this morning. It's great. Some of the animation looks so cool and incredible. And I like that, like, I didn't finish volume 1. I just watched another one that I hadn't seen the other night. I'm still like slowly working through volume 1 because some of it just wasn't for me. Some of the anime style stuff like is hard for me to get into. There is a variety of anime styles to that season 1, but some of them, at least to my stupid eye, look kind of similar, and doesn't really work for me. The animation styles in this series, at least, or volume 2, I should say, at least based on the trailer, look like drastically different styles. Like we all know what Wallace and Gromit looks like hilarious,
Somewhat
clay
claymation-y,
like stop motion. Yeah, exactly. So just imagine that, but Star Wars. This looks great. There's like stuff that kind of looks like Pixar. Like,
this is it's gonna be
there's,
like Robot Chicken Star Wars.
yeah, but like telling serious stories though. I
Right.
think. I'm like
Yeah,
the Wallace
yeah.
and Gromit one might be funny, but like, a lot of them look really, really cool. So I'm very excited to check out I'm gonna make sure that I finally finish the first volume before I dive into volume 2. But very
And
excited for volume 2.
yeah, they did announce the actual episode titles for the 9 episodes as well.
Yes, they did.
So
yeah, I only wrote down "I'm Your Mother" because it has Wedge in it. I thought
yeah,
you might know that.
the first one is just Sith. Because
Yeah, I think I
why
know
not?
what like that one looks good. I guess I don't really know what they don't say like the episode titles in the trailer, but based on some of the stuff you see in the trailer,
You can figure out which is
you
which.
can,
Yeah.
you can guess like, ooh, that's probably going to be Sith, because that guy looks scary.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's funny
yeah,
because
looks
from
really
the original Visions, I want to say of the 9, there were probably like 5 that there were probably like 3 that I thought were great, a couple others that I thought were passable, and then a couple that just didn't grab me because much like you, like the anime style is not my preferred style, but I get it's one of those where I get why people like it, but it's never done much for me.
Yeah, even the one I watched the other night, I thought the story was good, but it's just like the pacing was like really slow.
Yep.
And just I don't know. It's just like this could move a lot faster. Still good, but just not really for me. But I'm very excited again to dive into volume 2, coming out this May the 4th. Other thing that we got, we had known that Bad Batch was going to get a season 3. What we did not know is that the Bad Batch will be ending after season 3. It will be the final season of the Bad Batch. And it was announced Star Wars Celebration. I guess they did get a teaser trailer in the room when they were talking about the Bad Batch panel. Ian McDiarmid set to reprise his role as Emperor Palpatine, as he did in at least one episode of season 2 of the Bad Batch. And also, Ming-Na Wen will return as Fennec Shand. So I'm very excited about this. We've said a couple times in the show, Bad Batch season 2 jumped way up in my rankings, I guess, compared to season 1.
Yeah, no, it was
very,
and even
very cool.
Even like the first parts of season 2, there were a couple where I was like, it might have been like the first episode was good, and then the second was a lull, and then that Crosshair episode hit, and I was like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, yep. Like, oh, here we go. And then doing the whole thing about like the clones having representation in the Senate and getting like political with it is like, oh, this is really good, great stuff. And that the scene that Ian McDiarmid did as the Emperor in season 2 of Bad Batch was exceptional, so good. So he's coming back. I'll be glad to see more of him anytime we can get the original voices back for animation stuff like this is super cool. Pretty big announcement in the comic book world this week, and I guess it's just kind of like a wait and see thing, I guess. But a new comic book publisher, DSTLRY, has emerged onto the scene. That is, it's pronounced DSTLRY, but it is spelled without any vowels. DSTLRY, DSTLRY.
All caps.
Coming from all caps, yes. Coming from former Comixology executives David Steinberger and Chip Mosier. They are spearheading a company called DSTLRY. They have released their list of, quote, what they're calling founding creators, which I guess is just comic book writers that they already have ready to go, or writers and artists, including some big heavy hitters. This is not the entire list. This is just a lot of the heavy hitters that they announced. Scott Snyder, Ram V, James Tinian IV, Stephanie Phillips, Mark Bernardin, Joelle Jones, Becky Cloonan, Jock, Brian Azzarello, and many more. Former DC Vertigo editor Will Dennis will serve as their chief editor. Now, those of you that were alive in the 90s comic books, this might sound very similar to how Image Comics came to be. A lot of inside industry comic creators or people that worked at DC and Marvel got together. Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, etc. got together and created Image Comics. Much like Image Comics, DSTLRY is going to let their creators retain full rights to the material that they publish, but also, unlike Image, their creators will also get a 3% stake in the company itself, which is pretty cool. The comics are going to be made available in both print and digital. However, a new little wrinkle here, DSTLRY is aiming to change the digital comic market by only selling digital copies for a limited amount of time, but then allowing owners to trade or sell them at a digital marketplace. Weird. So there's no title announcements yet. There's no official launch date. There's no like, these two people are working on this book or whatever. That's more expected to come later this year. I'm all for like more voices in the comic book publishing industry. This digital thing is weird.
Yeah,
like,
the digital thing throws me off, but the rest gets me excited.
Why?
I mean, when you're right, when you line that up, because it was what, Jim Lee, McFarlane, Eric Larson, Liefeld,
Rob Liefeld, yeah.
Silvestri, Mark Silvestri, and a couple others. Portasio and Jim Valentino were the founders. So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of the modern day version of that lineup. Is pretty well the modern day version of those names.
Yeah.
Of some pretty
and it's
heavy
cool
hitters.
That's coming from Comixology people, who, I mean, they sold their stuff to Amazon and then just watched Amazon tear it apart. So,
Right.
I mean, at least they know how to build like a digital comics thing. So that part's in trustworthy hands. A lot of people on Twitter I see are like asking like, so this is NFTs? Like, how is this different than NFTs? And people from DSTLRY are responding like, it's not NFTs. There's no NFTs. Well, you're selling a digital thing. Like, how can I not just like copy paste? Like, what's the difference? Like,
yeah.
I feel I can't see me getting too involved in the digital comic book trading market, but hey, especially if this is similar to Image in that they will accept pitches from they will accept unsolicited pitches from independent creator teams. I'm into that.
Yeah.
I'll send them a packet. I'll send them a PDF. Yeah, who knows? So yeah, more on DSTLRY as it comes out, but very interesting, to say the least. This week in your local comic book store, you got Amazing Spider-Man number 24, Batgirls number 17, Batman Superman World's Finest number 14, Black Adam number 10, Captain America Unforgiven number 1, Catwoman 54, Darkwing Duck number 4, Flash number 797, House of Slaughter number 14, Liquid Kill number 3, Magic Order number 4, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur number 5, Nightwing number 103, No One number 2, She-Hulk number 12, Star Wars Yoda number 6, Superboy Man of Tomorrow number 1, Superman number 3, Terror War number 1, Warlock Rebirth number 1, and Wonder Woman 798. Lots of good stuff going on at your local comic book store. Steve, you buying anything? You reading anything? You thinking about anything?
Well, I did start up the Supergirl. Barely got into it,
nice.
But have picked up the trade and actually, thumbed through it instead of just staring at it on my wall.
Yep.
Like, oh, there's a book there. Cool, still there.
I should read this.
Heard it's good. Should probably take a look at it.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's kind of one of the only things that I've hit. Number 6 of the Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries was a classic with my son. So, yeah, no, it's been good. What was it that I was looking forward to? I can't remember. I'm sure it was good though. There was something that I was like, oh no. You know what it was the announcement that Miles, there's some weird wonky things coming out of Sins of Sinister with Nightcrawler taking over as Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw like a cover.
I'm assuming
Nightcrawler in a Spider-Man costume.
Like that's a cool as hell cover, but I'm assuming what it is when all the cloning of Nightcrawler happened and whatnot, they're furthering that. I don't know what'll happen, but it was worth noting that it's weird.
Weird, fun to see. I caught up on Chip Zdarsky's Batman this week. I read the final issue of Flash 1 Minute War. Pretty good. Seemed like it if it had one more issue, it would have been really like kind of flushed out, like a little rushed ending, but still cool. But I still have a huge stack of books that I'm not caught up on, graphic novel and floppy as well. And I'm gonna throw another one on that pile this week when Nightwing comes out. So
there you go.
If I ever get to it.
I did read the. Oh, come on! I literally was just thinking Ninja Turtles: Last Ronin, Lost Years.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's right.
Nice continuation of that storyline. So
cool.
Didn't think 30 years on that I would still be thinking about the Ninja Turtles and reading compelling stories about them, but here we are.
Yeah, sometimes I don't understand. I try to think about why certain characters or worlds from my childhood stayed with me and why others didn't. I loved the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I was a kid.
Yep.
But it's just something that I grew out of.
Yeah.
But I also loved Batman and Superman and Spider-Man when I was a kid, and I still love those characters now. So I don't know what the difference is really, why some stuck with me and why some didn't.
Well,
I love Transformers and stuff. I don't care at all about Transformers as an adult.
Right.
Not a little bit.
Well, with Ninja Turtles, it was like I had never thought about them whatsoever until I grabbed some of my old toys, and for my son there was 2 of my old turtles in there. I'm like, oh, cool. And then the Last Ronin came out, and I was like, oh, okay, I heard good things. I'll pick up these, and that's the only tie I even have to it. And the Last Ronin storyline was compelling enough that I was like, oh, I'll pick this up.
Maybe. I guess, like, I'm thinking about it right now, that maybe it has to do something with, like, that I never got into, like, I don't know if there must be one by now, certainly, the greater world of Ninja Turtles. Like, what's that world look like? Like, even when I was a kid, I knew that Star Wars was, like, a big universe and had a lot of characters and it was a grand expanse of topics and things that could happen. Same with, like, superheroes, you know, like, there's a whole world and there's things that can happen. There's things that you can do. Like, I never saw Ninja Turtles more than just 4 turtles and occasionally some friends in a sewer, but not a gigantic, scale to that. And like I said, I'm sure that's there now. They've been published nonstop since the 80s or whatever. There's no way they haven't expanded beyond that sewer, and I'm just ignorant of that. But that's probably got something to do with why certain things stuck around and why things didn't. Like at
the same time, I mean,
the possibility for those storylines.
Yeah, I mean, they were created as Daredevil analogs. So
I didn't know that at the time when I was a kid.
Well, yeah, I mean, in hindsight, but like, the hand versus the fist.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
It's right there. Or the hand versus the foot, rather.
The foot, yeah.
It's
I know what you meant.
It's like directly, directly lifted.
Yep.
So
yeah. Anyway, enough waxing nostalgic about the Ninja Turtles. Got a couple one-shots for you before we leave you tonight.
The first one is in news that nobody could have seen coming,
and no one cares about. Sony's El Muerto movie, which I know, hey, we know, listeners, watchers, we know you've all been clamoring for an update on Sony's El Muerto movie. We get so many emails from all of you. We get hit up on our social media saying, where's El Muerto? What's happening with El Muerto? I'm joking, of course. Nobody even remembers what this is. This was a one of their Spider-Man spinoff movies about a villain that nobody wants.
That was in one issue of Amazing Spider-Man, I believe.
Yeah, I think he exists in 2 issues of Spider-Man comic books. It's a Mexican wrestler named El Muerto. He's going to be played by rapper Bad Bunny, very successful rapper. I don't know if he can act. I don't think I've seen him in anything. Update on the El Muerto movie is that it is currently, quote, at a standstill. I guess Bad Bunny was asked about it in a recent interview, and it was reported that he, quote, feigned confusion about the question until his publicist spoke up and said it's at a standstill, but is still in development. So, I feel like that's not a great move for a publicist. Just be like, it's at a standstill. Like a publicist should throw a little more sunshine down on a statement like that. I think
You
like
would,
just go with
yeah.
the it's still in development part of that statement. Like, but anyway,
It's stopped.
you
We're
know,
not
the
doing
move-
anything. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah. But the movie you don't want about the character you don't know is not currently moving forward.
Yeah.
That's the update.
Well,
So,
in news about a character you do want to hear more about and a movie you do want to see,
that's right. Great segue. Perfect.
Deadpool 3 announces the return of cast members Marina Bakarin and Stefan Kapicic. Bakarin played Vanessa, of course, and Kapicic voiced Colossus in both of them in Deadpools 1 and 2. Deadpools? Yeah, we'll go with that as the plural.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, great, expected and great that they got them, back on board.
Expected.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's definitely great. I don't know if it was expected because they fridged Vanessa real quick in Deadpool 2. They like killed her and got her out of the way. Like he brought her back in the post-credit scenes or whatever.
Right.
But it seemed like they did that because they didn't have anything for her to do. So hopefully bringing her back is going to actually like service that character in a way better than she was held or done in Deadpool 2. I mean, that's my opinion on that. I think she's a great actress. The two of them in the first Deadpool is incredible. Like that's, we've probably said this before on the show, but like no one expected the first Deadpool movie to have such like heart to it.
Yeah.
And, legitimate emotion. And it all came from the relationship of those two characters. And also like, because it's a Disney thing, like I didn't know who was coming back or what they were going to do, what changes they were going to make. This script has been through several writers and several rewrites, but very, very excited that they're bringing Colossus back, or this version of Colossus back. Certainly the best version of Colossus I think that we've seen in an X-Men spinoff movie at all. And I guess that fits
the most
remember,
Peter Rasputin of all of the Colossi that we've seen.
Yeah. And it was like a few months ago that there was like that rumor about how Disney can't use any X-Men until after 2025, or if they did, they have to use the same actors or something because the contracts just extend for like way too long or something. But this makes sense because they're not recasting; they can bring the same character back, and it's the same actor. So like we can still get, but it's still probably going to be like the only named X-Man that we're going to get in this movie, besides Wolverine.
Yeah.
Because we know that Hugh Jackman is returning as well.
Well, it depends. They could bring back like the X-Force stuff, and there's ways they could play around with it. But
I guess you're right. Do you want to? We don't know. I mean, we assume that this movie is going to be his entrance into the MCU somehow. We know
somehow Deadpool returned.
We heard recently from a Jeff Snieder scoop that it's going to be Deadpool versus the TVA. So he's going to have access to these multiple timelines and things like that. Assuming that at the end of this movie, he's going to be hard dropped into the MCU timeline proper. Do you want a recast of Colossus, or do you want this version of Colossus to be the main Colossus in moving forward in Disney MCU X-Men?
I could see it going two different ways. Like when they drop him into the new universe, there is no Colossus, and then later on they'll bring him back as a recast, or maybe they just keep it coming, and I wouldn't mind it. I'd be curious on the chops because it's very early Colossus, and like if they bring Magic in and Kitty and like all those relationships, and like this guy may like the characterization of Colossus may need to change, even if it doesn't change the person. But
because if you really want to like do justice to the character of Colossus, you have to see him not as a metal guy. At
Right.
some point, you have to see him as a human being, and that might necessitate a recast.
Yeah.
I feel like. So I don't know. We'll see. Last one shot.
The Morena Baccarin thing made me think. So one of these days, I need to rewatch Firefly.
Yeah, I wonder. I've rewatched I've seen Firefly 2 or 3 times probably in its entirety, and I wonder now, knowing what Joss Whedon, I wonder if I'd be able to watch it
with the same lens. Yeah,
with the same lens, and still be like, "This is great," or I'd be like, "That line's a little leaning towards what I now know about Joss Whedon." Like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. She is great in that show. Like, everybody is.
Yeah.
Alan Tudyk, Nathan Fillion, everyone that's great in that show.
It was for a show that was canceled, for that to be the jumping off point for so many of these actors. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's, you know what? It's the nerd version of Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah, that's a really good, that's a pretty good point.
Yeah. One season, one and done.
Comparison.
And everybody just went on to actually become decent stars.
Yeah. We also got a dope movie. You ever seen Serenity?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So good.
Yep.
So good. Last one shot of the night. I don't know if anyone out there has heard of the Peabody Awards. The Peabody Awards give recognition to what they consider the most compelling and empowering stories in all media: movies, television, radio, dramas, books, things like that. Previous winners include HBO's Watchmen, Reservation Dogs, Chernobyl, Stranger Things, The Simpsons, The Good Place, Sesame Street, Marvelous Ms. Maisel, The Handmaid's Tale, and Jessica Jones. So we're talking like pretty high quality television here. Nominees for Peabody Awards came out, and who's up for a Peabody Award? Our old friend Cassian Andor. Andor nominated for a Peabody Award. Pretty cool, and deservedly so. I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was
it
was a movie worthy of praise, or a series worthy of praise.
Series. Absolutely agreed. And, you know, not much to talk about there or dive into, but thought it was worth noting. Steve, is there anything else that we should be talking about this week or mentioning? And I think we hit everything.
Yeah, no, I was just doing a skim, and that was I think we hit all the main points. Unless you want to, you know, just tangent to another hour conversation about Star Wars.
I don't. I'm actually pretty tired.
Yeah.
So
and 11:30 is a good time for us.
I think so. Yeah. We got through this way quicker than I thought we would. I don't know how long we've been going, but it feels like I felt like we were going to be
talking about an hour.
A long time about these. Oh, about an hour. Wow. Look at us keeping things tight.
Yeah.
Good for us. Hey.
Baby steps, man. Baby steps.
Baby steps. We're doing it.
Well, if you'd like to hear more about us talking for an hour about random things, feel free to like, subscribe, check us out on the YouTubes at the Multiverse Report. If you're watching us on the YouTubes, feel free to subscribe via Apple Podcasts or the like. Leave us a review. We'll, you know, I don't know. That's what I got. Check us out on the
we'll
socials.
appreciate it.
We
love
will
you
appreciate
forever.
it.
Yeah. So do all those things. And I guess that's it. So until next time, thanks for watching and thanks for listening. And we'll see you next time in the multiverse.